Well, I think you can summarize it in 2 words: desperation and failure. And Meghan is someone who is desperate for fame. She's desperate for recognition. She's desperate for money, of course, and status.
Meghan Markle thinks she's being so clever. However, royal sources now revealing that they are so terrified about a potential stunt involving her meeting with King Charles that there are suggestions they may even ask her to hand over her devices.
Everything's just fake, isn't it, you know? And that's part of the problem of why the brand is not working. Sorry about this noise, yeah, it'll stop. But this is really why the brand is not working, because clearly people are just seeing right through this and thinking, oh, this is rubbish. Of course, given the fact that if she was so desperate to want to make amends inside the British monarchy.
And of course, then there's Thomas Markle, who, I mean, it's just cruel at this point. Meghan is, the longer this goes on, it's just cruel.
And Prince William's own position, which I think is absolutely steadfast on this, will say you can come, but you won't be seen with us, and you won't be seen in any royal context, and you better behave on these terms. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Before the king will sit in a room with his own son, royal sources reportedly want one thing first: their phones, handed over at the door. They're so afraid of a hidden recording, a secret stunt, a manufactured moment, that a family reunion is reportedly being treated like a security operation. Why? What are they so terrified Meghan might do?
The fact that courtiers within the palace are saying, well, you know, there might be a meeting, but we're going to ask, or we're at least going to consider asking Harry and Meghan to hand in their devices on the way in. Oh, and by the way, even if there's a photograph, it's going to be with the children, not Meghan.
Start with the line that lit the fuse this week. Biographer Tom Bauer was asked one simple question: why would Harry and Meghan want to come back to a country, a family, an institution they publicly branded cruel, cold, and racist? And his answer landed in just 2 words: desperation and failure. Let that sink in, because the version everyone's being sold is warm and tidy. A son reaching out to a sick father, a family quietly healing after years of war.
But I think that Charles wants to have some sort of reconciliation because he is weak and he's ill, and he somehow rightly feels that Harry is somewhat feeling sad for himself and somehow wants to make amends. But I don't believe that they're going to give them what Meghan really wants.
But that is not how the people watching this most closely are reading it. The phrase being used over and over isn't reunion. It's crawling back on bended knees. According to commentators tracking every move, they've hit a wall.
So I think we're seeing them effectively crawl on bended knees back to Britain, and they are to some extent going to be pathetically grateful.
The Netflix money, the Spotify deal, the streaming spotlight reportedly drying up. No more giant projects, no more easy headlines.
They run out of ideas. They can't do any more work for Netflix or Spotify or any of the main streamers, and their finances are basically in jeopardy over the long term.
The long-term finances said to be shaky underneath it all. So suddenly, after years of insisting Britain was unsafe and the royals were the enemy, they reportedly want back in.
Meghan Markle hiring a team of crisis PRs in a bid to win over the British public. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex set to return to the UK for the 1-year countdown to the Invictus Games and will be accompanied by Archie and Lily. An insider close to the couple revealed that they see the visit as a make-or-break chance for Harry to try and reconcile with Charles and Prince William.
And the audience saw through it in seconds. The reaction wasn't sympathy, it was closer to, we know exactly why you're here. So what flipped?
Obviously, Harry and Meghan are pumping this stuff out at the rate of knots, you know, threatening to bring the children. And again, that ridiculous post the other day of them both turning inwards, it just becomes tedious, doesn't it? The fakery with the smudging and the Photoshop. You think, oh, just grow up. Everything now looks mad.
Why now? After everything, follow the money, because that's precisely where this goes.
Things are now so desperate in terms of the finances that everything these 2 chances, that these 2 grifters have said before, have been chucked out the window. But what's interesting is the Express is also reporting that Harry and Meghan have had to take on a new crisis management team, given they know how Brits really feel about this visit. With the headline here, Meghan Markle's bombshell make or break plan to win the UK back over, Markle hiring a team of PRs in order to do so. Let me just tell you right now, it doesn't matter what you're paid, these PRs should turn down the job because some missions are just impossible.
Here's the detail that turns suspicion into certainty. Meghan's lifestyle brand, the jam, the products, the whole operation is reportedly struggling badly. The phrase being thrown around is warehouses full of unsold stock. And underneath it sits a ticking clock, because a business can only run at a loss for so many years before it has to be quietly shut down and written off. By some accounts, she has roughly 2 years left before that window slams shut, so watch the timing. The brand reportedly sinking.
As ever has about technically 2 more years before you can fail in a business. Your business can lose money for 5 years. And you get massive write-offs. At the end of the 5 years, it's done. She's got about 2 more years.
The money reportedly tight, and at that exact moment, out of nowhere, a sudden urgent hunger to reconcile with the royal family.
And I think this whole thing has just been a last-minute desperate attempt, like throw everything that they've got. They know they're pretty much doing their swan song. In my opinion, everything has just turned to absolute ash, and this is the last thing they've got, and they've just thrown it all in a big ball. They've given pretty much, 3 weeks notice?
Commentators aren't calling that coincidence. They're calling it a plan. The logic goes like this.
She never listens to anybody. She didn't want to listen to people when she was behind the palace walls. You know, she just careers on ahead, and she chooses the path that she wants to take, and then blames everybody when it doesn't go the way that she wants it. I mean, we heard when she was going to Australia, she was going to, I don't know if this was actually truthful or whether this was made up, but she apparently had humility training to help her come across as more compassionate to people.
Proximity to the crown is the most valuable currency these two have ever held. Every single time they've stood near the monarchy, the clothes sold, the brand lifted, the relevance came roaring back.
And that has suited Meghan enormously, because not only did that promote her status, but it promoted all her clothes. And she was able to earn commission on 4 changes of clothes a day.
A trip home, a palace stay, maybe a photograph. That's not a family visit. That's a relaunch.
But we all know it's not about a reconciliation with the grandfather. It's not about improving the children's relationships with their relatives. This has all got a financial gain element to it. And this is why Harry and Meghan, which again, I'm still not 100% that the kids will actually get to see the king, but I do believe that they've suddenly had a turnaround very, very quick, when everything is basically crumbling around them.
And this is the thing the audience reacted to harder than anything else. Not the kids, not the courtroom, the money. The most liked reactions hammered the same point again and again. This has nothing to do with love or loyalty. It's a cash grab wrapped in a family bow. One person said the whole thing simply stinks. Another summed it up in 3 words. It's all about money. But money was only half of what set people off, because the next part is where it stops feeling like business and starts feeling genuinely sinister. This is the detail that made jaws drop. Royal sources, according to multiple reports, are reportedly so afraid of a stunt, some secret recording, some staged moment engineered for cameras, that they're floating the idea of asking Harry and Meghan to physically hand over their devices before any face-to-face meeting with the king. Think about how staggering that is. This isn't a hostile stranger. This is the king's own son and his wife.
Harry's account in his autobiography, Spare, about his relationship with Charles and William and Camilla and even the Queen, are so damaging, such treachery, that it's hard to forgive him, let alone Meghan, for the damage and the dishonesty and the betrayal that they committed.
And the people around Charles reportedly don't trust them in a room with a phone. That single fact tells you how deep the wound runs.
They won't allow Meghan to parade herself as a member of the royal family and the Duchess in Britain itself, to actually earn money and earn glory from having married the prince. I mean, we are then into really sordid, controversial territory if in any way she's allowed to exploit that situation.
And the audience? They didn't just agree, they went further, much further. The comment sections turned into a full security briefing. Pat them down.
Remember, he's lied about the fake wedding, sat alongside his wife, lied about helping with the books. But the other day, we found out that the £1 million that he allegedly donated to children in need, that's a little bit frosty. The people that he killed in his book, very difficult, because then they said, well, no, not necessarily. Do you see what I'm saying? This is an integral part, because clearly, and this is my belief, that when that comes out, and if they cite that, which I believe, and I've been told they will, then this will verify everything for William as to why he just needs to keep away from Harry.
Scan them with a wand, check them for wires, make them sign an NDA before they're allowed within a mile of a royal residence. Some called for jamming devices to kill any hidden microphone. Others were convinced one phone would never be enough, that she'd carry a second device, a hidden mic, something tucked away where no one would look. Fair or not, the feeling underneath is unmistakable. A huge slice of the public reportedly believes anything said in that room could be recorded, leaked, or monetized.
The royal family's offer is sort of, in a sense, still there. Come back if you behave yourself and, keep your noses clean and don't denounce us. And their offer or their demand, which is, we want to do our own thing, but we want to be half in, half out royals.
That every private second is potential content.
The issue will only be if they allow themselves to be filmed and photographed as if they were members of the royal family. I think that is where the line's going to have to be drawn.
And once you see the meeting through that lens, the palace's caution stops looking paranoid and starts looking like people who've been burned before and refuse to be burned again.
Everything's just fake, isn't it? And that's part of the problem of why the brand is not working. Sorry about this noise. Yeah, it'll stop. But this is really why the brand is not working, because clearly people are just seeing right through this and thinking, this is rubbish.
But there's a darker theory about why they're really bringing a camera crew, and it has nothing to do with Invictus. Here's the worry that genuinely unsettled people. It's been reported that this trip won't just be a quiet family visit, that there may be filming involved, a production, footage being gathered. And the moment you hear that, a much more uncomfortable question follows. Footage for what? The name that keeps surfacing is Althorpe, the Spencer estate, says the place tied directly to Princess Diana. And the fear among some watching is that a return to Britain could become an opportunity to capture material for some future Diana-themed project, the kind nobody in the family signed off on.
But we do have to talk about this new theory you have over Harry and Meghan using this trip in order to film footage for their new Princess Diana stunt. And this is actually going to involve Althorpe as well, which makes it particularly twisted.
You could feel the alarm in the reaction. People openly hoping the estate would refuse them access. Calls for legal documents to be signed in advance. No filming, no photographs, nothing that could later be spun into a product. The instinct was protective and immediate because to this audience, Diana's memory is sacred, and the idea of it being repurposed for a streaming deal was the line that could not be crossed.
Harry, the way he threw a tantrum over when Queen Elizabeth, they got the news that she was dying, and his first thought wasn't to actually just get up to Balmoral, get on the nearest plane, get on the plane with my family. It was to argue with his father that he was making demands that Meghan could go at that time of what should be for most people, and I'm sure for the rest of the family, was, despair. It was an awful moment in time.
True or not, it reframes the whole visit. Suddenly it's not a homecoming at all, it's a shoot. And the most valuable shot of all is the one they reportedly want most. There's one photograph worth a fortune, and everyone involved knows it. Picture the scene. The king on a sofa, two small children beside him. At first glance, you don't recognize them, and then you catch the red hair, and it hits you. You're looking at Archie and Lilibet, their faces shown to the world for the very first time. One royal writer called it exactly what it is, the money shot. Because here's what the audience clocked long ago. Those children's faces have been kept almost entirely hidden.
I think Meghan and Harry are going to keep on with this kind of hokey ploy of we don't put our children up on the internet. They do. And then when we do, it's only personal. Well, personal is business for you because they're so intertwined.
And there's a cold marketing logic to that, whether people like it or not. Keep something hidden. You build demand for it.
But we all know it's not about a reconciliation with the grandfather. It's not about improving the children's relationships with their relatives. This has all got a financial gain element to it. And this is why Harry and Meghan, which again, I'm still not 100% that the kids will actually get to see the king, but I do believe that they've suddenly had a turnaround very, very quick.
They call it a curiosity gap, and it means one single reveal becomes the most valuable image this couple could ever release. Now put the king in the frame. A photo of Charles with those grandchildren wouldn't be a sweet family snap. It would instantly make the children relevant, royal, and marketable, and commentators argue that's the entire point.
First of all, they're not getting a photo with the king because Meghan would sell the outfits on one-off, and that would not be okay. That would be the king basically saying, yes, it's fine to merchandise the monarchy. Give Meghan 10 to 25% of that $50,000 outfit she's wearing, which she probably has dubbed How to Meet Your Evil In-Laws.
A reconciliation photo in their reading isn't a grandfather meeting his grandkids. It's an asset, and that's reportedly why it gets blocked.
By having a photograph with Archie and Lily, it will increase their royal relevancy, which means Meghan can financially benefit from the children. And this is where the king then needs to go into grandfather mode. If he does it, it's not just a negative backlash on the monarchy because he's allowed Harry and Meghan to do this after everything they've done, but it's then going to enable Meghan to use his grandchildren in such a way. Whereas if he does what Queen Elizabeth II did and refuses to have any photographs taken.
The belief is any picture either doesn't happen or gets tightly controlled, the children perhaps, but not Meghan in the shot, because the instant she's in it, it can be sold. There's even a precedent people keep raising. The late Queen reportedly refused a photograph for exactly this reason, because she could see precisely how it would be used. So the meeting is a minefield, but there's something else hanging over this entire trip. Something with a deadline, and it could detonate while they're still on British soil. Here's what almost everyone cheering or dreading this visit is forgetting. There's a court judgment coming, and the timing could not be worse. Harry has been locked in a legal fight against the publisher of the Daily Mail, and the verdict is expected to land right around the time of this visit, possibly before he even touches down.
Now, behind the scenes, what you don't know, and what a lot of people are now waiting for, is the outcome of the privacy case with Prince Harry and the Associated News Limited, Daily Mail, Mail Online, Sunday Mail. Now, if you remember, at the end of that bombshell thing, remember, where he was in court and Harry basically claimed he'd never had any relationships at all with any of the reporters.
That alone would be awkward, but it's what's inside the case that makes it dangerous. During his testimony, Harry reportedly said something under oath about his relationship with a journalist, flatly denied any real connection existed, and then the evidence came out. According to those who followed the case closely, what the evidence showed didn't line up with what he'd said. Bauer's red is blunt. Harry's reputation is going to take a heavy battering when that ruling comes down. Now connect it.
Now, Harry's reputation, in my view, is going to take a very heavy battery in that judgment, because during his testimony, he said something which at the end of the case was shown to be untrue about his relationship with a famous journalist. He denied it. The evidence showed he was wrong and that he hadn't told the truth.
If a judge publicly questions the honesty of the king's son, in the very same window the king is supposedly welcoming him into a palace, that's a disaster for the palace's image. How do you stage a warm, healing reconciliation days after a court has put someone's credibility on trial? And this is reportedly the part William is watching most closely. The audience certainly was. They circled back to it relentlessly. The word liar. The fury that the case was ever softened. The conviction that this ruling will finally confirm in public what they've believed all along.
This is what William is now pinning his hopes on, and we're told this should be in the early part, if not towards the end of this week, the early part of next week. Why is this imperative? Well, it's imperative because it backs up everything that William has been saying. Harry can't be trusted. This just makes it official around the world.
To them, this isn't a footnote. It's the reckoning, and it's coming fast. But the rawest anger in this whole story wasn't about courtrooms or cash. It was about two fathers. This is where it stopped being gossip and started genuinely hurting the people watching. 3 royal households posted their tributes, and 2 fathers were completely, glaringly missing from all of it. The first was Charles himself, the king, reportedly not publicly wished a happy Father's Day by his own sons.
There are 2 very big main daddy characters not mentioned in any of these. Number 1 is Charles, and number 2 is, of course, Meghan's father, Thomas Markle.
Tell me, Paula, is there a reason that Meghan didn't wish her father a happy Father's Day? I'm confused.
Yes, she still has never talked to her father, who lost a leg in the Philippines, has come back for treatment in the States. She refuses to see him because he embarrassed her.
And whatever you make of him, there was something quietly sad in that for a lot of viewers, but the second absence is the one that lit a fire.
And I also feel in Charles's defense, he has also tried and he has learned. And so it did hurt my heart a little that he wasn't mentioned by anybody at all.
Thomas Markle, Meghan's own father, a man who, by these accounts, paid for her education, paid for her university, kept helping her financially long after she'd made it, and who has now reportedly never met his grandchildren and never even met Harry, a man who recently lost part of his leg and returned to the States for treatment, and still, reportedly, nothing. No call, no acknowledgement, silence.
Remember when he did the whole, like, I'm reading about myself and my daughter in the barbershop in Mexico. And she's, oh, you took money for photographs. I'm done with you. Never spoke to him again. He's never met his grandchildren. It's just insane to me, Tom. Like, the cold-heartedness of it is just... It's a lot for a woman who thinks she's so kind.
And here's the hypocrisy people could not move past. Harry built a global platform on Invictus, on wounded servicemen, on amputees, on sacrifice and recovery. And meanwhile, his own father-in-law loses a leg and is met with nothing. People found that almost impossible to stomach.
They don't like to pay other bills. Got it. They like to talk about kindness. They're not that nice. Okay. And neither of them are being nice to their fathers at all.
The word that came up again and again was cold. Just cold. For an audience that holds family and loyalty close, that values looking after your own parents, this was the gut punch of the entire saga. You can argue about palaces and photos and brands all day long, but a daughter who won't even call her injured father, that one needs no spin. So, when people ask why William won't bend, this is a huge part of the answer. Through every twist of this, one person reportedly hasn't moved an inch: William.
Prince William is hoping for something of a miracle regarding Harry's return. Now, let me just point this out, right, chums. Whatever people may think, there is no love lost between the two brothers. The trust has gone. It doesn't matter what the king wants. The king may be the father of Harry, but the bottom line is that William's not bothered. He's now got his own family, his own nucleus of, what he feels very happy and contented with: 3 beautiful children and a gorgeous wife. What more does he need for his cement, as it were, around him?
While the king reportedly agonizes over reconciliation, William is said to be doing the opposite. Staying scarce, keeping his distance, making certain he's nowhere near any of it. And the audience loves him for exactly that. The single most liked sentiment across everything was simple: he's right, he knows his brother.
And I think rightly the British people would be absolutely shocked if the king actually bowed down to Meghan's greedy commercial ambitions. And therefore, it would have to be resisted.
He's protecting his wife and his children. Keep the distance. It didn't even waver when a newspaper tried to paint him as lazy, that tired, work-shy line, counting up engagements like a scoreboard. The pushback was instant and ferocious. A man whose wife has come through cancer, with 3 young children, being called idle, people weren't having a word of it.
He's lazy, he doesn't do enough, he's, running the Duchy of Cornwall, he's making too much money. And I just think the idea that he's work shy after his wife's been through cancer, he's got 3 young children. I mean, I think it's a really odd thing for the Mail to keep pushing, and I find it baffling in some senses that they keep running these pieces.
Quality over quantity, they fired back. He's doing the real work, quietly, without the circus. And that's the contrast this whole story rests on.
And I think partly it's to do with William being much less willing to play the sort of traditional game of access for coverage, not doing quite the same level of sort of cozy briefings, and not feeding the beast in quite the same way.
One side reportedly chasing cameras, brands, and a comeback. The other simply getting on with the job and saying nothing at all. For this audience, that isn't a close call. That's the entire point. And here's the twist sitting under all of it. The palace still hasn't confirmed a single word. Not the visit, not the palace stay, not the meeting. It's all reportedly still in the air. And with that court judgment due any day now, the whole thing could flip overnight.
Everyone seems to at the palace, the king, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. If he sees them, he's going to get negative backlash. If he sees them privately, there's still going to be negative backlash. But Harry and Meghan, I don't think, are going to accept that. They need this trip to be a success.
If you want to see what happens when it does, the videos on your screen go even deeper. Go watch those next.